Hey folks, this is Kalani. Do you remember a while ago, blue eye colours were data mined for blood elves in one of the Shadowlands builds? You might also remember that we were told they were for only NPCs and players wouldn't get to use them. That might have all been a lie, or the dev team just decided to change their minds. That's probably more likely, but blue eyes are back on the table. That means the idea of being a high elf is as well. There's also going to be a Shadowlands reveal event in early June, which could give us all sorts of information about the Shadowlands Alpha, including, dare I say, a release date. Before we jump into all this juicy news, be sure to pop by our live stream over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We go live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 12 PM PST, and coming by to say hi is one of the best ways you can support the channel and everything we do. By the way, if you subscribe on Twitch, which you can do for free if you have an Amazon Prime, you'll get your name at the end of every YouTube video as a special thank you. So if you always wanted to join the wonderful folks in the outro, now you know how. Hope to see you soon. The first huge piece of information that was just released by Blizzard themselves. This isn't a leak or a piece of content that got data mined. Blizzard literally came out and presented this to us themselves. High elves. That's right, high elves. Or, well, sort of high elves. We're getting the blue eyes that so many players have been longing for since the dawn of time. Or at least the start of World of Warcraft. Now, there are two competing races that this news will affect. After all, there are only two races that can really be high elves, quote unquote, if a blue eye colour is added for them. So, which race was given the new eyes? Is it the Void Elves and therefore the Alliance who get to claim the long-coveted title of High Elf? Or is it maybe the Blood Elves who are able to reclaim some of their lost heritage? Alliance or Horde? What do we think? What do we think? How about both? You heard me correctly, or at least I hope you did. Both factions will get the High Elf signature blue eyes. Both the Void Elves and the Blood Elves will be able to show off their old High Elf heritage. That might be a little bit confusing because we've seen these eye colours before. They were actually data mined a little while ago, long enough for a lot of players to get excited about it, and also long enough for it to be brought up in a community interview with the dev team. The answer given in that interview made it quite clear that the blue colours were not for player customization, or an option that we were going to have for the Blood Elves. They shot that down fairly quickly. Some Alliance players were hoping that it might be customization available to the Void Elves, if not the Blood Elves, but seeing as hope was more or less lost for the Blood Elves, I don't think anyone was really betting on the Void Elves either. But the dev team has done a complete 180. As you can see, this is from a blue post, showing off blue eyes on both the Void Elves and the Blood Elves. But they didn't just stop there. They also showed off the new Blood Elf skin colours and how they could look with the new blue eyes. Very cool indeed. Thank you for the customization options once again, Blizzard. But they also went even further. One huge complaint about the Void Elves has been their lack of skin colour options. Now, I apologise if I'm getting the Void Elf players out there excited, but I promise this should more than make up for it. Every single Blood Elf skin colour will be made available to the Void Elves as well. That includes the previous paler skin tones, or, actual skin tones, as well as all of the newer options that let you pick some darker tones if that's what you fancy. You're not locked into the blues and purples for your skin anymore. When Shadowlands releases, you'll be free to literally just be a Blood Elf, except on the Alliance, and with arguably cooler hair options. I know some players have brought up the hair colour limitations for Void Elves as well, but if they're getting all of the Blood Elf skin colours, who's to say they won't also get the hair colours to match? I'm just saying, it will be incredibly easy to do so. So Blood Elves have finally become available to play, more or less on the Alliance side, with blue eyes to boot. If you ever wanted a playable High Elf, there's your playable High Elf. If that surprised you, then you're not the only one, even though this is fantastic news for anyone who loves customization, character creation, or just the idea of getting high elves in general. It popping up right now is a bit of a question mark. Instead of getting super hyped and excited, I do see a lot of people asking, why? Quite simply, why? Why now? This has been asked for time and time and time again, and it's been shot down time and time and time again. I remember when the answer was, well, high elves are kind of in the game already. If you want to play a high elf or something close to it, go re-roll Blood Elf, that's all you're getting. That was a bit weird, but it seemed to end the conversation for the potential of High Elves being a playable race, or at least a cosmetic option. But then Shadowlands data mining revealed those blue eyes for Blood Elves. Suddenly the topic was back on the table, but it was quickly pushed back off it by that interview we mentioned earlier. Did they know at that time that blue eyes would become available for players? I have to assume they didn't. Their answer doesn't make much sense otherwise. But then, does that mean that they thought it over and decided to just open the floodgates for customization and give us as many options as they can think of, even if that does mean something similar to High Elves? That's definitely one way to go, and with the Void Elves getting not just the blue eyes but all of the other Blood Elf skin colours as well, I would say that's probably a safe bet. This is definitely blurring the lines between the factions with the Blood Elves available on both sides. Let's just hope they don't change their minds again and take it all back. Sadly, none of this is available on the alpha for testing just yet. In fact, both Void Elves and Blood Elves have been disabled entirely on the alpha. You can't create them or even preview their customization options, and you can't log into any Blood Elf or Void Elf either. It's a full lockdown on those races, so that might mean these new customization options and everything else like skin colors, hairstyles, jewelry, necklaces, and the rest of the eye colors might also be included in one of the next few alpha builds. Speaking of alpha builds and what to expect next, the dev team is also announcing something very interesting. There will be a Shadowlands reveal event on Tuesday, the 9th of June at 9 AM PDT with game director Ian Hazzakostas and the World of Warcraft executive producer John Haidt, two very important figures who will shape the next expansion. This event will be on both YouTube and Twitch, and apparently they'll be sharing more about the upcoming Shadowlands expansion with a look at some of the newest content in development. So what could this event give us? The most obvious answer is a look at what to expect next for the Shadowlands Alpha. The new hub Oribos was just enabled for testing, and that sort of finishes their initial roadmap of the Alpha. We knew we'd get Bastion to start with the appropriate dungeon, then Revendreth with yet another dungeon, and then we were to expect Oribos after that. Maldraxxus, Ardenweald, and the rest of the dungeons were slated to arrive at a later date. So maybe this event is to update the roadmap. Give us an idea of what's coming in the next build, and the build after that, and the build after that, maybe up until an actual beta release. The overall process of the alpha test has been so smooth this time around. New builds come in like clockwork, progress has been made almost every week, and what's in the alpha looks and plays great. The dev team has also been very communicative with the players in general. Lots of updates to how testing is going, a whole bunch of interviews with content creators and influencers alike, and we're getting feedback on our feedback, which is amazing to see. So this event could be one more merit to add to that list. We could also see more info about the systems that we haven't been able to test at all. Legendary effects and crafting, soul binds and conduits, and the rest of the Covenant systems will all be key factors to consider when we look at whether this expansion will be good or bad. But the problem we have right now is quite simple. We have no idea what most of those systems are actually going to look like, or how they will contribute to your overall gameplay. Hopefully this event will shed some light on these huge key features and give us some info about when we can expect them to become available for testing. It could also mark the end of an alpha phase. We were told alpha would transition into beta around the time when most of the leveling process had been tested. That means Maldraxxus, Ardenweald, and the Maw Zone need to be tested, and then a beta can start so it can progress from level 50 all the way up to level 60 naturally. They might give us a date for all of this to happen, which would be very exciting. Hopefully a lot more players will also be invited at that point to increase the amount of feedback the dev team is getting about the Shadowlands expansion as a whole. More invites are always going to be good. There is one more thing this livestream event could give us, a release date. We are still relatively early in the alpha cycle, but if you look back at when some previous expansions were announced, it's not too far off. Battle for Azeroth's release date was announced on April 5th of 2018, and its actual release was August 14th. That's only 4 months difference. Legion follows the same pattern. Its release date was announced on April 18th, 2016, and the game went live on August 30th. Again, only 4 months. If the Shadowlands expansion were to be announced in June, that could mean a release date in October, which we know to be possible because it's on track to release in Q4 of this year. I know most people point out that Shadowlands is still in alpha, but both Legion and BFA were in alpha when their release dates were announced as well. So while there there is a possibility that we won't see a release date from this June 9th presentation, I still think that it could be quite likely. That's probably the most exciting thing they could announce besides the transition into beta. One worry I do have with this announcement is for the next few weeks of alpha builds. The dev team might just save up all the alpha info and all the new builds along with it to build up as much hype for this event as possible and then release something big alongside it. It's on a Tuesday, which means they have the rest of the week to get a big build deployed, and they could announce a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. Boom, here's your release date. Boom, here's what's coming next for the alpha. And the big boom, here's a massive alpha build to dig through. Good luck, have fun. No matter what happens, be sure you're up early enough to catch the livestream on Tuesday, June 9th at 9 AM PDT. I'm sure it'll be chock full of great information. Now, before we head out, we do have one more piece of information which might be useful to some of you. Do you remember that going into this week, the Gushing Wound corruption effect was supposed to get nerfed by a whopping 35%? You may have noticed that nothing changed with the weekly reset. Gushing Wound is still just as powerful as it was. That's because the dev team ran into some issues applying the changes and will be postponing it yet again until the next reset. So you have one more week to get every ounce of enjoyment you can out of your Gushing Wound stacks because the nerf is still coming. The hammer is ready to swing. The dev team is just delaying it a teeny bit longer. That gives us some more time to farm up echoes to replace those Gushing Wound effects though, I guess. Now we just need some good corruption effects to actually pop up on the vendor. But that's it for this video. What do you think of both the Horde and Alliance getting high elf customization options? How about those Void Elves basically becoming Blood Elves while they're at it? What do you hope to see or hear from the livestream event on June 9th? A release date, a better alpha roadmap, or maybe something else? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to come farm echoes with us, or more likely watch our cats climb the terrible Tower of Porghast and battle for dominance over the treat box, you can join us live over at twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday at 12 PM PST. Watching the stream and coming to say hi is one of the best ways you can support the channel right now, and if you ever wanted to be included in the list of names at the end of every video, a subscription on Twitch is the easiest way to make that happen. You do get a free sub to any Twitch channel if you have an Amazon Prime too, so be sure to take advantage of that. A big thank you to everyone who has subscribed on Twitch already and to our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, well, now you know how. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.